why rentals for all of us, that maybe haven't jumped into rentals quite yet. I think rental property is the best exit strategy when it comes to real estate investing. Again, I don't really look at wholesaling as being an investing, it's more of a marketing business, right? We do fix and flips in my business as well, but I just love rentals for so many reasons. Number one, they put off cash flow, and cash flow is passive income. And for all of us tax and IRS nerds here, passive income is taxed much, much, much lower than earned income. So the goal would be to try to get as much of our income coming from long-term capital gains or passive income in order to decrease the amount of taxes we pay in terms of percentages, on our income. Number two, it's good debt. Right now I have about $11 million worth of real estate. Actually, it's probably closer to 12. But I owe the banks about 7 million. And I would love to owe the banks 100 million, to be quite honest with you. So I'm like 7% of the way to my goal. I got a long way to go. But with that being said, I have a couple $1 million worth of equity on these properties. So, some people will look at debt as being bad. That's, kind of the Dave Ramsey approach. And, bad debt is bad by all means, but there is such thing as good debt. And good debt is when somebody else is going to pay that debt off for you. And that's what you can achieve with rental property. Number three is leverage. And really, we're going to kind of circle back to leverage towards the end of this presentation here, but leverage is such an amazing thing that we can utilize when it comes to real estate investing, but not just with money and other people's money. We can actually leverage things on every step of the process, which makes it, really, really fun and easy to be able to do this at scale. Next, we have appreciation. Over the last, from 1968 to 2004, obviously that's 20 years ago, but during that stint of time, that 36-year period, we saw a 6.5% increase on average year over year. So if you know anything about compounding interest, 6.5% year over year can really grow when you're compounding, right? We all probably know and saw what happened over the last 3 years with COVID. Every property that I own went up 30% in 3 years. So, sometimes the appreciation can be much more rapidly. Properties don't always appreciate, but over a long enough period of time, they are typically going to tend to appreciate anywhere between 4 and 6% on average. I mean, that's when you're talking about, looking at the big picture, maybe 150 year time frame. So again, appreciation. Now, appreciation to me, folks, is icing on the cake. I never use appreciation in any of my calculations. I'm never, counting on appreciation. It's icing on the cake, but over a long enough time period, like I mentioned, you will take advantage of appreciation, which is awesome. Next is going to be the tax benefit. So we talked earlier just about how cash flow is taxed low as passive income, but on top of that, you also get to use what's referred to as depreciation for each property that you own that is considered to be a rental property. Can't be a primary residence unless you have multiple units that you are renting out above and beyond the one you're living in. So I guess in theory, it can be multiple units, but it's not really designed for your primary residence. It's really just designed for rental property. And the reason that you get this depreciation and this tax benefit is because the government wants to reward those who provide housing to their fellow Americans and their neighbors and their peers. And they just figured that, whenever you rent a property out, you are going to have maintenance on that property and you're going to have capital expenditures. And they don't want landlords going out of business left and right and not having enough housing supply for our fellow neighbors and American citizens here. So they give us an advantage, and that is a depreciation, which is essentially a phantom expense on our taxes. It offsets our earned income, of effectively making the amount of taxes that we pay, and again, in terms of percentages, much lower. So it's a very, very, very powerful thing. And then last but not least, guys and girls, we have wealth creation, right? We aren't taxed on wealth creation, only income. So if we can add $500,000, $1 million, maybe even several $1 million a year to our net worth in terms of equity capture and wealth appreciation, we are not paying taxes whenever we create wealth. We are only paying taxes when we create income. So that's one of the beautiful things about rentals is we can create a lot of wealth. We can even borrow against that wealth and leverage that wealth, but we're not going to have to pay taxes until we have, an income producing scenario where we, if we were to sell the property or maybe we're cash flowing on that property. But again, the point here, without diving too deep down the rabbit hole, is that wealth creation is one of the best advantages of rental properties, because again, we aren't taxed. If I go create $1 million this year in equity, which I should pretty easily, I'm not going to have to pay any taxes on that. Now, when I sell it and capture that, I will, but in the meantime, I won't, and I can even borrow against it. All right, back to, go ahead.
Another really cool thing with rentals is once you buy a property, you've kind of locked in your buy price, you've locked in your mortgage expense. And after that, your rental income is going to go up. So your difference between the income that you're getting and your mortgage payment is only going to go up and up. Like if I look back at when I bought my first property in 2010, I still have a couple of loans on my property. I'm paying like $200 or $300 per month on those properties, but my rental income has doubled on those properties from like 10, 12 years ago. So that's another huge benefit. You're locking in your price when you buy the property, and rental income is only going to go up. Some years it's going to go up a lot, some years it's going to go up a little bit. But even if you factor
very rarely goes down.
Yeah, I've never seen it go down in the last 12 years since I've been buying. But another thing to keep in mind is like your rental income, in addition to what you mentioned about the appreciation, your rental income is also going up. So which is going to, add additional, it's going to increase your value of your property, plus your cash flow is also going to go up.
Yeah. And another way to word that, guys, or another way to look at that, I love that, Sherrod. It's such a great point. Another way to look at it too, especially if you fix in your interest rate on your loan, the loan gets easier and easier to pay because it's not adjusted for inflation. So as you all know, the government likes to print money like it's going out of style. It's crazy. Nothing that I can particularly do about it, but it is what it is, right? Well, as the purchasing power of our dollar decreases, it means that we're typically able to earn more money at the same amount of work and time that we spend. So essentially what that means though is that the loan becomes easier and easier to pay for multiple reasons. Number one, rent goes up, but number two, the purchasing power of the dollar is going to be decreasing almost every year.